Okay, today we're going to be talking about another method of cookery, and the method of cookery that we're going to be focusing on today is braising. But we're going to be braising in a different way. We're going to be using the microwave. Something that we don't do very often, but this is a new recipe from a guy that wrote a book here like this, and we'll see how it comes out. So we're going to be using duck, we're going to be using the thigh, and a little bit of the top of the leg. The rest of the leg we're going to be cutting off and using in a confit. And we'll talk about that a wee bit later. First of all, we're going to take out the thigh bone here down to the top of the leg and then chop off that thigh. The way we're going to braise in the microwave is we're going to perform the Maillard reaction, which is, as you remember from the previous instruction, is the browning of the proteins and the sugars in the meat, and releasing the odor molecules and the flavour molecules out of the protein. So we're going to brown that off, and then we're going to use a hypodermic needle, and we're going to inject the meat with a Cointreau, making the classic duck aileron flavours. And that Cointreau is going to be infused with a little bit of salt, white pepper, a little bit of clove and cinnamon. After we've injected it, we're going to put it in the microwave and microwave it for around 3 minutes until the internal temperature reaches around the 75-degree mark, so let's say. And how the microwave works, start from that point, how the microwave works is it heats moisture up to just below boiling point, which is 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Those microwave waves rub the molecules together, so the first thing we're going to do is infuse the Cointreau with the flavours that we want. We're going to be seasoning from the inside out, so we don't need to put any salt halfway through the cooking process in the microwave. So a little bit of our sea salt and our mortar and pestle, one clove. Remember, in clove is very, very strong, you don't need a lot. A few mignonette, which is the white peppercorn, and a little tiny bit of cinnamon. Think about the flavours that we're putting into this infusion. We've got the orange of the Cointreau and those Christmassy type flavours, which are the clove and cinnamon, and that's going to season our protein as it cooks from the inside out. So round and round on the mortar and pestle, just crushing it. Put that into a little bowl, and we're going to sit the Cointreau in there. That's plenty, and we're going to let that infuse for around 20 minutes and then strain it off through our sieve, fill up the hypodermic needle and inject it after we've performed that Maillard reaction, which is again the browning of the proteins in there. So we're going to butcher down the duck leg next, and you can see how much just fat is on these duck legs. We're going to be taking most of that fat off because we're going to be rendering it down on a hot pan after we've scored the skin, and we don't want too much of that left on there. As you can see here, this is the thigh bone going down to the top of the leg, so we want to take that thigh bone out. Use your boning knife. Down either side of the thigh bone. And use the back of your knife to scrape down the bone. Pushing the meat off the bone. You'll see down in here you've got a little cartilage that we can just chop through. Releasing the tendons. Now, as you can see, this is all thigh. So we're going to take we're going to split the thigh from the top of the leg as close as we can, and the leg we're going to be using for confit, so we'll salt that and some thyme and garlic. We're going to leave that for around 3-4 hours. We'll take that out and cook that and poach it in duck fat. Absolutely beautiful. So here's our thigh, but look how much fat's still on there. We're going to be braising it, and that's going to release all these release all the fat off it, and that will just swim in the microwave, all that, but keep that because we'll render it down. As you can see, This is the top of the cartilage of the leg bone that has to come out. Along with its tendons. Now we're starting to look like just the thigh. So we'll be taking off that large amount of fat, and we'll score the skin. Now we're going to sear that in a hot pan and inject it with our infusion and contract. So we're going to get the pan nice and hot before we start. If we put the duck thigh into a cold pan, we all know what happens there. Just stinks like glue, and we'll start shredding the meat. So get the pan nice and hot. We don't need any oil in the pan. As you can see by the thigh, we've got heaps and heaps of fat on here. We're going to put it in the hot pan, skin side down. That fat's going to render, become nice and crispy. We'll sear the other side as well, the flesh side, and then we'll inject it with our infusion. Okay, so remember, we don't need any seasoning on this duck thigh at all. We're going to be seasoning it from the inside out. Don't be tempted at this stage to get in there with a pair of tongs and turn it 15 times. Let the pan do its work and render down the fat. See the level of gas there, about halfway, nice and hot, and it'll keep it there. If you turn it up too hot, it's just going to burn the fat on the outside. You'll end up with a bitter taste. You do want to render this fat. Alright, so give that a wee shake, just make sure it releases by itself. Remember, don't be tempted to ball it off, otherwise you'll rip the meat. So that's a nice little glazed colour we've got there. And for your readings and a little bit of research, remember that you're going to be looking up the Maillard reaction, what it does and what molecules it releases. We're talking there about the odor molecules as well as the flavour molecules. So there's our infused contract. Put that through a nice fine sieve. Don't be tempted to push it through. You want to catch as much of those peppercorns as possible. Grab our hypodermic and drag it up into the syringe. Now, what we want to do is find the meatiest parts of the flesh and inject the meat. So what are we doing? We're brining, really, from the inside out, and I can feel that has gone to about the same sort of texture as a rare to medium rare steak already. So it's pumped up. And what do they do this? What's the most common way they use the syringe in meat? It's for bacon. They load up the bacon and with all sorts of brines and liquid, etc., so they can charge a whole heap more. So just keep on pushing it through. And again, if you feel that, it almost feels like it's rare already, but that's absolutely pumped up the contract. I wish you could smell this actually, it's absolutely good. Alright, so from here we're going to put it into the microwave for 3 minutes, and again it's going to braise from the inside out, slice it across the grain, and there's lunch. Alright, so into the Swiss oven for 3 minutes. That's tricky. It smells really good. Does, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, what can go wrong? Yeah. 5%. Okay, so that's been 3 minutes in the microwave. Let's pull her out, and obviously just like any other meat, this is going to have to rest for a good minute and a half before we do anything else. After that resting time, we'll slice her up and make sure it's cooked right through. So what we're going to do now is take an internal temperature right to the centre, and as long as it's over 75 degrees we know it's cooked right through to the centre, and that's 90, and the breast is, the duck leg is still resting, so that'll come down considerably in the next minute and a half. So we'll slice the duck up and see how it is after our 3-minute braise. It's obviously cooked right through the centre, and I can smell the Cointreau straight away. Really very nice. As you can see there, it's cooked all the way through, and it's not falling off. The meat's not falling off the thigh here, but it is cooked right through. The traditional braising method will soften the duck meat up a lot more than this method.